Welcome to Real-ationship Goals, a podcast all about the realities of healthy relationships. Real-ationship Goals is a project of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. If you or someone you know has experienced sexual violence or harassment and is seeking support, services, or needs more information, links to resources and our hotline number can be found in the description. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of their organizations or affiliates. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Real-ationship Goals, Episode 7. I'm Kyla.
I'm Mariana.
I'm Maria.
And we are going to jump into our episode today with our story, which I think Maria has for us.
Yeah, there is a song out by Olivia Rodrigo right now called Jealousy, Jealousy. It's been out for a while from her first album. But there's a part in it, or there's several parts in it where she talks about seeing like her friends and stuff, like driving and like having boyfriends and like all of this cool stuff. And she's like, comparison is killing me slowly. Which I think is really relevant, right now, as everyone and their mothers is on social media.
Literally. My mom's on social media.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought it would be, a good way to tie in today's topic.
It's immediately what I thought of whenever we settled on this topic for today. I was like, it is this song, which is also just a bop.
Yes.
This story doubles as a recommendation of go and listen to Jealousy, Jealousy by Olivia Rodrigo because it slaps. But yeah, so as you've probably noticed both from the title and then also from our story today, you little Sherlock Holmes sleuths that we are talking and focusing on comparison today, which is definitely a topic that we've covered before, that we've hit on in other episodes. But we're going to be examining it specifically through that aspect of digital relationships and kind of viewing it through that lens. For our students out there listening, like, what are some things that you can kind of take away from this just to be aware of as you're engaging with social media and engaging with your friends and strangers online? And then for our adult influencers listening in, what are some good ways that you can be having conversations with your students about this topic? Because it is very real, and I catch myself playing the comparison game more frequently than I would like to as my grown self. But it's so easy to kind of fall into that, I think. But just to kind of kick us off with some definitions, we love our definitions here. Comparison is defined by the Oxford Language Dictionary as the consideration or estimate of similarities or dissimilarities between two things or people. So we're just going to kind of jump in from that. So Maria, Ariana, comparison. Big broad topic.
Comparison. I think it's kind of natural, especially in today's time with how we use media in different forms a lot. To fall into comparison. Like naturally we just look at things and like, oh, I wish I could do this, or oh, I wish I had this. And so it's just really, really quite natural and very easy to fall into. So that's kind of my thought process when it comes to comparison. It's like, yeah, it's very easy to fall into.
I remember growing up, a lot of my friends would like go on cruises, or like they do all this cool stuff, like they were getting their first boyfriends and girlfriends, and I'd be like, oh, like these are things like I should have already been, like I'm way behind them because I'm not doing all these things. Like I'm not going on fancy vacations or going on dates and things like that. And I'd see friends and be like, oh, like they look really happy, and my life is not at that point right now. And so I think comparison does a lot of damage to mental health. Like there's a big correlation between people who are on social media a lot and their mental health. And I think a lot of that does go back to the comparison aspect of it all.
I think that one of the big things like with me is, I don't know, it's so hard because I feel like comparison really slips in without you expecting it. Because and it looks different, I think, in like the different stages of life that you're in. I let's see, like social media and stuff really became more popular whenever I was like 13. So like I remember, I feel like Instagram blew up in popularity whenever I was 13-ish, which is whenever I got it. And then Snapchat also kind of got really big, like in the next year or so. And it's just so interesting to think about how, like, at that point, it was A, early enough in the game, and B, I was still young enough, I think, to where it was less like, oh, I'm seeing other people doing these things and that's making me feel bad. That kind of came along, I think, a little bit later, more so maybe whenever I was in college. And then it was more of like, oh, I'm paying more attention to like how I physically look in comparison to other people. Or like I remember seeing like pictures of like, oh, like I posted this picture where I felt really good about myself, but then I see it in comparison to other photos of other people and I'm like, wow, I'm not feeling so good anymore. Or it would come in, oh, my least favorite part of it is the way that your brain kind of goes into, well, how many likes am I getting?
Yeah.
And like looking, and I remember very distinctly, like one of my more embarrassing, distinct thoughts pertaining to social media that I don't really care about as much anymore, but I've thought about it more in the past of like how many more likes somebody else would get than me.
Yeah.
And it's so dumb, but it's so real though, to latch on to those things and to kind of like assign self-worth to that.
I'm
hurting
since
myself.
I didn't get that many likes, I don't think people really view me as popular or likable or things like that compared to like your other peers and family members or whatever the case may be. Like, oh, well, this person got 400 likes and I only got 20. It's like, yeah, we do kind of attach our self-worth to other people and validation from other people. And it's just like, that's not good. That's not so great at all.
It is in fact bad.
Yeah.
And
unhealthy.
Like I don't think it necessarily ever like it goes away, but I think as you get older, it definitely evolves. Like you said, like when you were older in college, it was like about your appearance. But I know a couple of people in my life that were, they would see other of our friends get like have a house or have a baby, engaged, married, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm way behind. And it's always like, you're on your own time. Like there is no race,
no set timeline,
timeline. Yeah, or they're like, yeah, this person's like losing so much weight, and like they posted on like they're posting their gym selfies, and I'm going to the gym, but I'm not losing weight that fast.
Or I'm not looking like that.
Yeah, and it's like no, like you are your own individual person. There's no need to set yourself up against this other person.
Yeah, let's like not focus so much on somebody else's path. Like you have your own path, you have your own journey to take on. So there's no reason for you to try to compare yourself to others. Like, yes, it might be very easy to get caught up and occupied with somebody else's life and how they're doing. But I think it's just very important to reel yourself back in and make sure that you're paying attention to yourself and what works for you.
And also a big part of it is realizing that so many people use social media and historically have, and I think we're experiencing a shift more so in like the last couple of years, but especially I'm thinking like while I was in high school and earlier college, of the whole purpose of social media was to take highlights of your life. And by highlights, I mean the high points. Like you're putting, oh, I'm going to this party, I'm all dressed up. Or like when I was in college, people are posting photos from like their sorority and like fraternity formals. So it's like, I look like the best that I've looked in my life right now, and I'm going to post that for everybody to see. Or look at this super cute date that we went on. And so you're posting those high moments where, and that's the only thing that other people get to see, maybe, or that's the main thing that people get to see. Because I don't know about y'all, but I don't see every single one of my followers or the people that I follow on social media every single day. That would be a lot of people to see in a single day. But because if that's the only side that we're seeing, then that's not fair to ourselves to also be like, wow, why isn't my life perfect all the time? Like this very cultivated and like meticulously crafted persona that I'm seeing. online. So that's just, I think, a really important thing to remember too. And like I said, there's a shift now of more people are posting more genuinely of like, I'm a mess right now, or I'm really stressed, or I'm going to be honest about like my mental health struggles online. And that's something I'm so grateful for, because then I think it allows a space that's less so for comparison and more for like camaraderie, or even community especially. And it allows us a space to form these other connections and to normalize these things as well, like especially whenever celebrities are or open about those things, because comparison to celebrities online and on the media is, we could probably do a whole episode on that as well. But that's also just a real part, is like, we're not only comparing ourselves to people in our everyday lives, so like normal folks, but a lot of times we catch ourselves comparing ourselves to these celebrities whose lives look, I don't know about y'all, but I am not a millionaire and can't afford a personal trainer or a nutritionist or things like that. So we have these moments where it's like, oh, I don't look like that. It's like, you don't have the resources to look like that. It makes sense. I don't have a stylist. That's why I look like this if you're watching on YouTube, because I don't have a stylist. But but there's a lot of just unfairness to ourselves whenever we play the comparison game, which I guess is a good segue into whenever we catch ourselves making these comparisons. What does it do to us? How do you feel when you're comparing yourself to other people?
Poopy. So many different emotions that come up when you're doing the comparison thing. It's like frustration or anger, jealousy. I think jealousy is kind of like the top one when it comes to comparison.
Envy.
Yes. Or being fearful and anxious, like comparing yourself to somebody that has already like taken a next level in their life, and like you want to do that too, but you're scared it might not work out for you in the way that you would want it. So just a lot of different emotions. And also sadness, depression, right? So we really, really get caught up with like feeling bad about ourselves when we see other things going on. But I just really think I'm grateful that the shift has happened over the years with the social media and different media platforms, where people are being brave enough to share vulnerable moments on the social media, like especially like if you're seeing a video of a person crying, or if you're seeing a video of a person just talking about how they're struggling with losing weight, or any of those such things. I'm just very grateful for that. It really takes the load off of the comparison method, because you're actually seeing something that's very authentic. So
I love that. Just to, we've talked about a lot of very emotionally difficult things so far, I think, in this episode, but just to kind of like transition us kind of towards the end to a more lighter tone, what are some like healthy habits and healthy ways that we can be engaging with social media just to keep us a little bit happier, healthier, maybe to kind of curb that comparison game? I keep calling it that.
Yeah.
I'll stop using that phrase eventually, but
like setting your boundaries, like knowing, like recognizing this is what's happening. What can I do to stop it? Well, maybe I can stop following these people. Like I've gone through the purge of Instagram and Facebook, and I've just like been like, okay, like this isn't good for me right now. I'm just gonna like restrict or like unfollow these people until, especially like celebrities, when you see like the celebrities doing all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Emma Watson, but right now it's not a good time.
I don't follow too many celebrities.
I don't need to see Superwoman right now. I am so glad that you're in the world, but
yes, for the sake of my mental health, we're going to just basically filter out certain things that you feel like it's not very friendly towards your mental or emotional health.
It's not you, it's me.
That was a big lesson that I'm still working on learning. It's Everett, my partner, has been so good at healthily pressuring me in that, because for years, like somebody would pop up that I was following that I just didn't like even. So like seeing their content would frustrate me or upset me. And he'd be like, just unfollow them. And I said, no, I refuse. Because every now and then you're like, I like feeling like a stinker sometimes. There's just sometimes where you got it. But it came to a point where I was like, this is actively like making my life. This is not sparking joy. I'm going to Marie Kondo my social platforms. And I have now gotten better I'm like, if what they are posting is continuously A, making me feel bad about myself, or B, just frustrating me, which is entirely something separate from this episode. But if you are following someone that upsets you to be following them, don't follow them anymore. And honestly, they probably won't even notice. So don't even worry about that social pressure. They probably won't notice. I don't scan through my followers to see who has unfollowed me, because that's none of my business. Personally.
Goodness.
But yeah, I think that's a huge one. Another one that can be good too is like adjusting the notifications on like some of your social platforms as well. This is something I still kind of need to figure out the best way to do, because certain platforms also just send me random, like, these 27 different accounts just posted a story, and I'm like, awesome, I don't really care.
See that
I don't need a notification for that. But just taking the time to kind of adjusting those things and recognizing it, like, especially if there are accounts and things like that where you're like, I don't need to be getting constant notifications that you're posting things, because then I just want to check it. It's like, maybe just turn off the notifications.
Right. Or taking a break completely from social media. I've found I am friends with a lot of people that just completely just go ghost on social media platforms. I'm like, you do what is best for you. And that works for them, because they come back and they're good. So,
ain't no shame in that.
Gone through a period where I just don't post on my Instagram or Facebook. And then, like, when I'm feeling up to it, maybe I'll post like maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. But I'm like, I mean,
you're doing really good without it. Like, it's not a need to post everything about your life.
I post once every 2 years, maybe,
maybe even.
I don't know. I've graduated twice from college, and I haven't posted about it either time, because I just I don't know. So yeah, there's no shame in taking a break from social media, especially in this space. If you're taking a break, let us know. We'll celebrate you. If you're not taking a break, you can let us know that too, and we'll also celebrate you. Basically, do whatever you want that will keep you safe, happy, and healthy.
And we will
celebrate you. But that feels like a great and very uplifting note to transition into our relationship goal with, which I believe Ariana has for us today.
I do. So our relationship goal for this episode is, while engaging with different social media platforms or any media platform at all, keep in mind that you're only seeing one side of a person's life or a piece of information. An important thing is creating boundaries for yourself when you start to feel like you're comparing yourself to someone or something. Is very important. If you need to filter out certain things on your socials, or maybe even take a break from the media can be very helpful towards your mental and emotional health. So please do it if you need to.
Cultivate your socials. Unfollow people that hurt you.
Yes. And that's my wish.
Yeah, thank you. And then our recommendation today is coming from Maria.
Tamales. I love tamales. Sweet tamales, chicken tamales, pork tamales.
Tamales.
Put me a tamale that doesn't have cheese in it, and I will eat that.
That's fair. I said, wait, but cheese. And then I said, oh yeah, but cheese.
Yeah, lactose.
But yes, that is a wonderful and very delicious recommendation. My family takes that recommendation every year on Christmas Eve. With tamales every year. It's a wonderful one. But thank you for that. And thank you guys so much for being here today, joining us today. If you are just desperate for some more PNE content, be sure that you're following us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention. Or if you just want to keep up with the Advocacy Center as a whole, things that we're up to, you can follow us at Advocacy_Waco on Facebook or Instagram. In the meantime, keep up with our episodes, follow us wherever you get your podcasts, or follow us on YouTube. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Real-ationship Goals. This episode was produced by the Prevention and Education Department of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. You can follow us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention. See you next time.